to be back with you. Many of you, I know, I have had the pleasure of starting the new year with in previous Free Your Futures. And I know hundreds of you have also been in the last couple of masterminds. So this is a different format, being a workshop. It's basically me with my computer. So it's nothing that different than when I wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and I just do a bunch of affirmations. I just don't normally do them for 90 minutes. And for anyone who's followed me, you also know that I don't do affirmations. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming to join in today's workshop, Free Your Future 2023. And I'm excited. We've got a lot to cover, as is always the case. Before I get into the nitty gritty, we'll do the housekeeping. So if you just bear with me for a second, this is a medical disclaimer. The information including, but not limited to, text, graphics, images, and other material in this workshop are for informational purposes only. No material in this program is intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've read in this program. When participating in this workshop, all the participants have agreed to respect the confidentiality. That's actually a little bit more when we're talking to each other. So you've got to respect your own confidentiality for the fact that you're not going to share anything because I can't see you. But anyway, as a reminder, all the content presented during this workshop is protected under copyright law. Thank you for honoring that. Okay, so that's that out of the way. Now we can get into the nitty gritty of trying to create an extraordinary life that you are excited about, fulfilled, and powerful in doing. So I've got a bunch of questions here that I will get to towards the end. We're going to run about 90 minutes today. Sometimes I run over. It depends what streams through me. You should have received your workshop worksheet, sort of some preparatory questions. Some of you may have gone through that. Some of you may not. That's okay. Extra prizes for the people who went through it. So I'll address some of that towards the end. But for now, most of you, I'm going to guess, know who the hell I am. Peter Crone, otherwise known as the Mind Architect. I've had the pleasure of doing this work now for, gosh, over 20 years. And it's always humbling to know how many people are both interested in what I have to share, but committed to your own journeys, right? Like being human, let's face it, is not that easy of a proposition. We all have our trials and tribulations. I by no means am free of those. And many of you know my childhood history and what I've been through. And that does not in any way negate the fact that challenges still come up. But I would assert that the most powerful human beings I know aren't the ones that don't have problems. They're the ones that have a different relationship to those problems. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today, especially in the mediums of time and space. These are the things that as human beings, we tend to be entangled in, we traffic in as human beings, particularly psychologically. And so I'm going to look at the things that we often refer to as past, present, and future. I also am going to talk about, why is it that you may have all the best intentions in the world to have a life that you really are committed to, and yet for some reason it doesn't work? And we can put that under the umbrellas of commitment and the energies of manifestation, which I'm going to speak to, because I think it really is one of the most powerful experiences as a human being to have that sense of like conscious creation of something. But it's also one of the most frustrating when we don't seem to, quote unquote, manifest the things we want. And I feel it's one of the most misunderstood experiences as a human being, because people talk about the word, they throw it around, especially at the beginning of the year. I'm going to manifest this, or you manifest that. And I want to give you what I would consider both a simpler understanding of it, but for that reason, usually simpler equals more powerful. And then we're also going to talk about where these concepts of past and future trip us up and how they occur, which to me are illusory. And then, as I said, we'll just get to your questions, which there are some great questions. So we're going to start with, why do I call this workshop Free Your Future? And the reason being is because if you understand the nature of life, and some of may have heard me speak to this, I would assert, the very structure of life is pure possibility. So if you look at life, and this may right out of the gates be sort of somewhat profound for some of you, to recognize that the very fabric of life is pure possibility. So if we look at water, we can look at its chemical structure and say there's a couple of hydrogens and an oxygen, like we can break it down. So if we break down the nature of life, I really want you to consider that it is no different to fire being hot than life is uncertainty. But for the fact that it's uncertainty means that there's, quote unquote, we're not aware of what's there, which means that potentially everything is there. Now, when I really got this myself 15 something years ago, I can remember I was riding my Vespa in a precarious position, which I don't recommend anyone do, but sometimes I kind of lie on it like Superman, with my legs out, which again, don't try that at home, kids. But it hit me like the every moment of life is literally brand new. Like literally, like it's like 1:07 Pacific Standard Time on Saturday, the whatever it is, 7th of January, 2023. And this minute, this moment has never happened before. Now, if you really get that, that alone should hopefully sort of make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and realize, wow, we're being presented with new opportunity. Here's a new opportunity. Hey, you human over there, here's a new moment. What are you going to do with it? Hey, you, here's a new opportunity. Do you see? It's a consistent, it's never ending. Life is the opportunity. So then why do most people not have that sense of joie de vivre? Why are people not excited? And that's why I come to Free Your Future, because I want you to consider your future is already full. And if we were to use a 4-letter word that's appropriate, professional, and technical, it's full of shit. It's already full of stuff, for the polite 5-letter version. And the reason being is because this instrument we have, the brain, which is different than the mind. I talk about freeing the mind. I'm not talking about freeing the brain. Brain is part of the hardware. It's part of your physiology and your biology. The brain for thousands of years has learned to do whatever it can to predict what might happen. Seems like a wonderful asset to have as a human, but only if we're coming from a deeper seated in the mind fear of our existence. Really, we're living in the world of survival. And so what happens is we get this lens of speculation where we're constantly trying to figure out, which is a survival mechanism, what might happen, right? What could occur? Am I going to get in trouble with the boss? Is my spouse going to get upset at me because of blah, blah, blah? Are my kids going to be okay? What's going to happen if I end this marriage? What's going to happen if I start my own business? Am I going to make money? There's like a million iterations of the lens of concern for our future. And I'm going to speak to what is the sort of the fundamental layer that sits underneath all of that a little towards the end. But I just want you to presence that for yourself. I want you to recognize where as a human being, you have the tendency to be preoccupied with this internal narrative of constantly trying to figure out what's going to happen. And if you really look closely, you'll notice that the underlying current, the emotion that's associated with it predominantly is of concern. And that's a sliding scale, right? Concern is sort of more on the conservative edge, like panic and terror, which people struggle with, panic attacks, are more at the outer edges. And then you've got fear and anxiety, which are very unpleasant, but they're still on this continuum. Then you've got apprehension, worry, concern, and then maybe intrigue, which is going to be a little bit more neutral. As we go down the other end of the continuum, we could get to what we consider to be a positive outcome, right? Like, you're looking forward to something, right? If you look at the languaging, I'm looking forward, future-based, but the energy that comes with it is a little bit more like anticipatory of something good. I'm looking forward to seeing you later. Or we could say at the far extremes, there's, just excitement, to the point of kids peeing themselves before Christmas. That's the far end. We want to stay away from both the extremes. So really, I want you to consider that for the most part, people are in what we could call the negative version of a future-based orientation, which is, as I said, sort of from intrigue or concern out to anxiety and worry. And so because we've all had our challenges as we've gone through this crazy journey and our trials and tribulations, we tend to learn from our disappointments in a way that can be maladaptive. Now, sometimes the adaptation we have is beneficial. Like, you know, the old cliche, you put your hand on the stove for a minute, you realize, well, hopefully not a minute, you touch it, it's hot, you realize you don't want to do that again. As a kid, you don't know what a stove is, especially if it's one of these old style black ones, you can't see the heat, the color change. And then you're like, oh, okay, like that's something I want to look out for. And we could say that that's a smart adaptation. But you go through a bad breakup and you're really hurt, disappointed, and then you go into the next relationship with this sort of guard, this anticipation of not wanting to experience that hurt again. That now becomes maladaptive, right? That's a reaction to a past experience, which couldn't have been any different because it wasn't, and we'll get into that. But I want you to start to, especially as you go through your worksheets, to recognize where are you learning from your history, but in a way that becomes compromised in the way that you move forward, right? Like we've seen it a million times on Instagram, we've heard it, where like dance like no one's watching, like love like you've never been hurt before, and whatever the other, eat donuts like you'll never get diabetes. Is that one? I don't know. I think I just made that up. Don't eat diabetes like you won't get, don't eat donuts like you won't get diabetes. So anyway, so the point is, as we go through this, I really want you to pay attention to your own life. This is, after all, this is for you and for those who are around you that you might want to share some of your takeaways. But Free Your Future is because I want you to consider, as much as many of you may not have thought of it that way, you already have a future. One of my quotes is like, if you don't consciously create your future, then your brain will do it for you, and it's usually not good, right? Now, if you really listen to that languaging and those words, your brain, based on past hurt, is now looking out for the avoidance of those same like disappointments and failures and things that basically compromise your experience of life. So I'm going to give you a very simple analogy. This will help to just tie this in a nice little bow. So wherever you are in your house right now, some of you are sitting at the kitchen table, some of you are in an office, some might be lying on your bed, some might be in the living room, some might be hopefully not sitting on the toilet. If you are, that's fine. This is not a Zoom. Don't go to gallery. You're not going to find that person. I almost did that once. Don't try that at home. Wherever you are, toilet is not the best example, but every other room is appropriate. So I want you to consider, look around your room right now. Now, whatever you have in there, it could be a table, chairs, a bookcase, there could be a mirror, there could be artwork, there might be a TV, there's a bed, there's pillows, there's a hamper that handed down from grandma that you really didn't want, but you can't give back because you know your parents are going to be pissed because it was grandma. Whatever's in the room, you got shit in the room, right? So now that represents your future. Now, what I want you to remember is when you first moved into that house, apartment, townhome, whatever it is that you're living in. When you first moved in, there was nothing there. Usually that's okay. Maybe you bought the house and it had furniture that came with it. Whatever, you get the point. Play along nice, kids. So I want you to envisage, you looked into a space, you were looking around to buy a house, to rent a place, to lease an office, whatever it was, and quote unquote, there was nothing there. That's where we want to get to, because think about the excitement usually you had about moving into a new place. Now, again, it could be under the guise of it was a divorce and you're not actually that excited about moving out from your 5-bedroom home in the suburbs, but whatever it is, you get the point of possibility, which is when we step into a space, and as I said at the beginning, we're going to be talking about time and space, and there's nothing there. What happens next is you start to envisage what you could do with the space. Now, most people understand that, a kitchen is going to have probably a kitchen table that you're going to put there. Some people might build a bench or whatever it is. Your living room could have also an array of all sorts of different furniture. Some people might want to do Bedouin style and you're lying on the ground with cushions and throws. And some people might like a fancy cloud from Restoration Hardware. Tends to be my pen, you know, whatever it is. But you saw space and then you started to create with your imagination what would go here. Are we going to put so-and-so this and this and this, right? The point is, with the room that you're currently in or the house, apartment you're currently in, I want you to realize there is stuff. And for many of you, there's a lot of stuff, let's face it. Like if I was going to come in there and start opening drawers, closets, pantries, there's a lot of shit that you might not necessarily be proud of, and that's okay, it's your life. But that does tend to represent the clutter that's going on in here. So if we can start to make the comparison between a physical space and a physical space, even though it's a psychological experience, then you start to realize, okay, if I really want to have a powerful, in this case, new year, 2023 and beyond, it's incumbent upon me to recognize what's already in the way, right? So free your future is, we've got to start by being responsible for what are you already contemplating? What are you already worried about? What are already your speculations, invariably based in fear of something that perhaps isn't that inspiring, that I'm not going to make enough money. I can't pay my rent. What happens here? I can't pay my kids' tuition in 5, 3, 10 years, whatever it is. So whatever noise is there equates to the furniture and stuff in your home. Okay. So free your future is about, we've got to, and this is where manifestation, by the way, usually falls apart, because people walk around like, hey, I'm going to manifest da, da, da. And what they don't know is that da, da, da won't fit in your life because you've already got a bunch of stuff in the way, right? So think about, I've used this analogy before. If I were considered to be one of the greatest world's interior designers, and by my own account, I'm pretty damn good. Actually, I get a lot of compliments. So let's just say Peter Crone comes around your house to interior design. Might not be why you want me to come around there, but if I were to come around there and I just walk into your house and I've got all of this beautiful antiques, whatever is your perfect style, like I first have to get rid of everything that's in the way. Otherwise it's for now, right? I can't literally get a couch into a room that's already got a couch, empty boxes of pizza and Chinese food and crushed beer cans and friends who have outstayed their welcome, right? So we've got to clear space. So this, I hope you, like I'm sort of belaboring this point because we'll get to also why this is so important psychologically as we go. If you're not responsible for getting rid of what's in the way, then manifest your heart out. It's not going to work, because it's like someone makes a gourmet meal and you're sitting at the table with a mouthful. You don't get to experience the new possibility that is there for you because there's still something that's quote unquote undigested. It's not complete. So that's why we're freeing your future. I want you to note, and probably in the worksheet, you know, especially in section 1, when you're looking at your history, it might look like, oh yeah, but that's my history, things I haven't accepted, but they're with you right now. I can remember when I was working with a lot of golfers and I was traveling to a PGA Tour event, one of the TV anchors, one of the main guys from Golf Channel, he was waiting at the 18th green to interview one of my players because he was in the lead or second or whatever. He was tied very close. And so they wanted to talk about his round. And I was waiting to meet my player client. And this anchor came up to me and said, hey, first of all, congrats, you know, on the success with your players. Everyone, they're doing well. I'm like, thank you. He's like, I've heard about like the difference you're making. It's amazing. And he said, would you be open to me having a conversation with you sometime? I'm like, sure, like happy, like I, you know, love helping people. He said, because I've got a lot of things in my past. And I took a beat and I obviously knew what he said. And I totally understood the concern about it. And I just looked at him, I said, no, you don't. They're with you right now. And, you know, as is often the case, if you sit and chat with Peter Crone, like, you know, you get the old proverbial 2x4 around the head. Anyone who's been in the mastermind can attest to that. So he's like, oh, and he sort of, you know, did that little dog tilt of his head. Anyway, I was at another tournament 2 or 3 weeks later. He came up to me like an enthused kid, you know, and he's like, oh my God, I totally got what you said. Like I've been dragging my shit around me. I'm like, yeah, And you can see by virtue of the way you're responding to seeing me now, the excitement you have is because you're not dragging it around anymore. And that's freedom, right? So looking at section 1 might seem like there's things in your history that are quote unquote what happened, past tense to you, but I want you to start to see, oh shit, like actually, yeah, in terms of chronological time, they're in my history, but energetically, psychologically, and emotionally, they're actually with me now, which is the occupation, meaning occupying of space that would otherwise be allowing for new things to show up. That makes sense? Okay, so basically you've got a lot of housekeeping to do. What can I tell you? And I don't even know you. And that's because I do a really good job of this, and I still have to constantly get rid of stuff. So I prepared a demonstration as it relates to history and this accumulation, because I think visuals help a lot, right? So here's something I prepared earlier. So think about your history, and you can even, if you want, reference section 1. And there's that moment that happened where you overheard mum and dad say something about, oh, you know, like what happened with Sarah or Johnny or Tommy or Dave or Sally, you know, like I think we're not doing well as kids, as parents, because they only got a B, not an A. Maybe they said it to your face, maybe you overheard it and you felt shame and guilt. And, you know, there's that little blunder, right, that happened. But don't worry, you tried really hard, you know, and you thought, I'll excel in sports. But, you know, you didn't get picked as a quarterback, you know, you didn't make the cheerleader team because, you know, you're a bit too chunky or whatever. Oh, that's chunky, that one hurts. Yeah, you're a bit heavy, right? So you heard that. Kids were a little bit mean. In fact, there's that one time you had to do a presentation. Do you remember that time? Yeah, and all the kids started laughing at you. So there's apparently that wasn't so bad. And they started laughing at you, you know, and so you accumulated that little scar. But it's okay. Keep going, keep trucking through life. And then, you know, you start to get into those teen years and, oh God, like, you know, you got acne and pimples and they're calling you all sorts of names, and you got weird protrusions happening on your chest and hair, and, you know, people are making fun of you because, like, you either have too much hair, you don't have enough hair, you're not tall enough, you're still short, whatever it is. But that's okay, don't worry, because, you know, you fall in love when you're 50, don't you? And it's like, oh my God. But then you found out actually they're not in love with you and they cheat and they're like kiss somebody else. You know, and you're going along, it's fine, don't worry. Once I get to college, it's going to be awesome. You know, and you go to college and you have one too many cocktails, you experiment with some drugs, you know, and then you drive your car and you get a DUI, and then your dad finds out about it, and, you know, you have to hear about that. And then anyway, you know, it's okay, don't worry, I'm going to get a job. And you go for your interview, but you don't get the job. And then, you know, you have to go on Social Security for a while and you feel like a loser. And, you know, so you get the theme, right? So, and then you get to, like, you know, you're in your mid-20s, you go to a workshop, or you're in your 30s, and then someone talks about manifestation. You're like, yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to manifest because I feel really good about myself. I'm free. Anyway, you get the point. Should I leave these on for the rest? So I want you to understand that as human beings, and we can call it karma, I'm actually using these because I ran out of my lint roll. So this is just a cheap way, by the way. If you have fluff, you can get scotch, and this is great exfoliation. I know you didn't realize this was a beauty workshop, but actually this really helps a lot. Did I miss any? I can barely see myself. So I want you to recognize that as human beings, on the human level, we tend to accumulate, and we accumulate a lot. So there's not only what goes on in our body, the accumulated toxins. Many people do cleanses, juice cleanses, fasting, water fasting, whatever it is, because we recognize that we tend to accumulate. We certainly accumulate a lot psychologically, some of which is great. You remember how to drive, you remember how to speak languages, you accumulate knowledge. But then what I'm talking about is the accumulation of emotions, things that you have not accepted into your life, that you have had hurts, trials and tribulations, disappointments, a feeling of failure, shame, guilt, all of these emotions, which are very human, but if they're not addressed and they're not completed, then you end up looking like a guy covered in scotch tape, which never got anyone too far, last I checked. So I want you, as you do the workshops, to be really thorough with yourself and not just go through it and answer the questions, but feel, where are you literally not okay with something that happened? You haven't integrated it. You haven't accepted it, because that is the massive, like usually elephant in the room barrier to you creating the life you want. You're literally carrying the things that you have yet to accept, the things that you didn't want to happen. So just for that first section, where I talk about list all the events that you can remember that you know hurt you, usually, you know, with somebody else or something else. If you want to, just as a cheat sheet next to it on the side, just put the word acceptance, right? Because that's what's lacking. That is the antidote. That is the healing medicine for whatever occurred that you quote unquote hurt you. And then you can also ask the question, can you change what happened? And of course, most of you have heard one of my more popular quotes, what happened, happened, and couldn't happen any other way because it didn't, right? And why people find such liberation and freedom in that is because it's really pointing to the logic of your history is your history. It happened the way it happened, and it couldn't have happened any other way. That's it. So what's missing from that formula is, yeah, you might have the intellectual logic that you know that, but you haven't accepted that for whatever reasons, and this is a much deeper rabbit hole, for whatever reasons, that was part of your history, like meaning your history, the arc of your journey. Why was it that happened to you in your journey? Well, because there's an opportunity for you to transcend something, which we'll get to at the end, and with some of the questions that are kind of asking around that. So of course, can you change your history? No, but you can change your relationship to it. And it's the most liberating experience. So when you look at all of those things you answer in the worksheet, the degree to which you are completely okay with everything that transpired thus far in your life is the degree that you will feel the most exhilarating experience of liberation and freedom. Just like that anchor from the Golf Channel came up to me, he's like, oh my God, I got it. I don't have a lot of things in my past. I had a lot of things in my mind right now, but I'm actually letting go of those because that's what transpired. Okay, so that's your looking at your history. And as it relates to the sticky tapes, there's one word that I want you to consider that is so powerful, which is things that are incomplete in your life. Now, day to day, we look at incompletions like you've got your to-do list. I have a massive to-do list. I have many things that in my life are quote unquote incomplete, but they carry an energy, they carry a frequency that is a weight. Oftentimes, when people struggle with something like sleep, it is the reflection of both things that are incomplete, the back of your brain, the deeper parts of your subconscious, which are aware of the things that are incomplete in your life, are somehow trying to process, while simultaneously the brain that is trying to predict and make sure you're okay in the future is trying to figure out how to complete those things. So this might seem like rudimentary, but it is so profound. Like, get shit complete, get stuff done. Like, we've all had that moment of like crossing off, checking off, Xing off something from your to-do list, and the feeling of both accomplishment, but it creates space, right? It's one less thing for your processor to have to work on, think about, remember, and accomplish. So this is something for myself that I am constantly working on, is I want to have things complete. Or put another way, I don't want to have things incomplete because I know they take bandwidth. They preoccupy my attention. And so freeing your future is not only being okay with your history. And so if we were to go to section 2, you know, things that you're currently dealing now that you don't want, like that could be your task, that could be the circumstances of your job, your relationships, your health. I got it. But again, things can't be different. So where can you be responsible for the fact that things are the way they are? And then we're going to get into what's really powerful, which is taking action. Like, life doesn't respond to your thinking at a very subtle level. Yes, we can talk about the energy, but it's not so much the thinking, it's how the thinking translates into your physiology, because as sort of these vibrational beings, you could think all you want all day. That's not going to make the impact. It's what your thinking does to your physiology. If you're thinking about a concerned future, then you're going to have the experience emotionally, physiologically, of terror, worry, tension, anxiety. That's what life responds to. But life responds to mostly doing shit, like get on with it, right? I think I've shared with most of you who've followed me for a while. I did some work with the Navy SEALs. Now, these are guys who, you know, they're dealing with the biggest challenges in life, like literally life and death. You know, maybe like having a tough conversation with a loved one, hopefully not life or death. I don't know who the hell you're dating if it is, but maybe get out of that relationship. But they are dealing with literally life and death situations, and their motto is deal with it. Deal with it isn't like, yeah, sit down and think about it. It's like deal with it, like do something, take action. So at the end of this, I want you to all understand there are going to be sort of some pivotal words that I'm going to give you. The first we're starting with is freedom, right? Free your future. I hope you understand now in ways that perhaps you didn't understand like 30 minutes ago. Most of you are not free because you're accumulated over time stuff that you're still dragging with you that weighs you down. It's the quintessential expression, isn't it? Baggage. Oh, they got a lot of baggage. Like everybody knows what that's referring to. They've been hurt, they've been disappointed, they've had failures, they've struggled in life. But in that way, if you look at it, every single human being has the potential to have baggage, no matter how difficult your history's been. Why? Because you have a history, right? I've met some of the, most we could call lucky, fortunate, whatever it is, blessed word, whatever word you want to use that could attribute to the fact that they had parents that loved each other, they stayed together, there was no fighting, there was plenty of resources, they went to a good school, they even went to an Ivy League university. And I can think right now of a friend of mine in New York who I met, whose life was on paper picture perfect. And he's still got a ton of freaking baggage, and he ended up getting divorced, and it wasn't. So it doesn't matter what your history looks like. It's a history. You could put it all under the auspices of one word. I have a history, yes. The question is, how much of your history is still lingering, like what I call emotional indigestion? Like you still can feel it, right? Maybe not in your belly, but certainly in your heart and in your head. So freedom is the first word I want you to really circle, underline, capitalize, put like butterflies around, whatever works for you. If you don't start with freedom, then we ain't going anywhere rapidly, okay? I'm going to take a little swig. So the way to access freedom, be responsible for things you've accumulated, make a list, check it twice, and complete that shit. Okay, so present. Stuff you're dealing with right now, some of it you will recognize is really just a byproduct of things you haven't accepted, right? Meaning, what is the consistent theme? You're in a second, third relationship and you notice, wow, the same triggers are happening. I don't seem to be respected. I don't seem to be listened to. I'm not heard. I'm not valued. Yeah, but if you have experienced that and you're experiencing that now as one of the things you don't want, then your opportunity is to recognize that the consistent theme is you and the way that you relate to other people, and predominantly the way you relate to yourself, right? So again, there's an incompletion, but it's in the way that you view yourself. It's not incompletion of what happened. There's an incompletion in the relationship you have and the way that you view yourself. Now, that takes a little bit more work. This is obviously what I do with one-on-one and what I go through with people in the mastermind when I'm coaching them, is to help them to get to what I call these contexts, these deeper subconscious narratives that usually are, invariably are, created or triggered in childhood because dad said this, mom said that, blah, blah, blah. So we get to now in present time recognize through whatever it is that you're upset about, you're not happy with, you're not comfortable with. And again, stacks of questions with a lot of things that you aren't happy with. The opportunity is to see, okay, what is it? And this sometimes honestly really takes you slowing down, sitting down and really reflecting, not like trying to get into fight or flight and resist life, but rather go to, okay, this is a pattern. I've noticed this before. This is a reaction. And you have to sit quietly and understand, okay, what is it about the current circumstance present that I'm dealing with that is actually a reflection of something that I know, even if I don't know, think about, but I know, I can feel I've had, quote unquote, as part of my identity for 10, 20, 50 years, right? So present, some things are out of your control. That's why I distinguish things that are personal to you and some things that are societal or things that we don't have a say in. Again, like the cheat sheet before, you can put acceptance. And by the way, that was to help you with section 1, number 1. Section 1, number 2, when it's more about things that you did that you don't accept versus things that happened to you, but rather things you did, then the cheat kind of quick answer to that to help you out of it is forgiveness. All right, so acceptance is the first thing that, yeah, kids made fun of you. Your dad said this, your mum said, we wish we'd had a boy, not a girl. Like, you know, people go through some pretty hideous things that you hear from others or your circumstance. Profound acceptance, couldn't have been different, is what's going to help find freedom as it relates to yourself and the things that you did that you are sort of shameful of, you feel guilt or regret about. And if I were to really tap into my history, I could go, yeah, oh, I wish I hadn't done X. I wish I hadn't done Y, but I don't do that anymore because guess what? I couldn't have not done X and I couldn't have not done Y because I didn't. And I want you to understand the person that you were when you did those things didn't have another option, meaning you were functioning from within the best awareness you had at the time. And so now today, with a little extra wisdom, hindsight, experience, knowledge, whatever it is, you could look back with judgment, but it's a completely futile exercise because what you've garnered today in who you are today is not who you were when you made the choice that you're having some sort of regret over, you see? So that's why forgiveness is the access to helping to integrate those things that you did that you have some shame over. And there's some pretty bad ones. Like maybe I'll get to the question. I remember someone talking about, you know, the things they did, alcohol addiction, like sexual exploitation, things that they are not proud of. I get it. But to stay where you are with regret and shame over what you did means that you've never actually left what you did. And that's why your life's not working. Every moment, as I said, now we're at 137, right? Like this is new. And it is new as it is filled with possibility. It's never happened before. But if you're still holding, and that is the predominant energy I want you to have and understand about history and past, is that people hold on. And holding, like if I'm like this and someone's offering me a gift and I'm trying to pick it up, the gift is literal, metaphorical life, I can't receive. And so many of the things that people write about, ask questions about, are the things that you want in your life. And I get you want them, but you're walking around like this, saying, no, I really want it. No, you don't understand. And got taped. I really want it. No, you don't. You're just not open to it because you're too busy judging yourself for what happened or judging others, which is another form of poison, right? Shakespeare had a beautiful quote. He said, hatred is a curved blade. Right? So the hatred, which is a general auspices for judgment, criticism, or others, is literally something you're carrying. And I'm not saying that's easy. I mean, in the mastermind, there was this beautiful woman who had so much resentment for her mother that it created literally cancer in her body. And she became one of the poster childs of the mastermind because I helped her to see that. And like the relief you saw in her body and her face, the freedom, because she didn't even know what she didn't know, right? She was not to be held at fault or accountable because she was doing the best she could from the hurt that she felt. And she really thought that it was out there, her mum, but she was holding the poison that then manifested in her physiology. So this is where it gets very insidious. And the word dis-ease is one of my favorites because the absence of ease, the absence of peace, dis-ease is the precursor to it cascading into your physiology. Same into your life. If you're walking around with sorrow, regret, criticism, judgment, shame, guilt, all of these energies have a gravity to them. They have a heaviness. There's no lightness. There's no joy. There's no playfulness in the way that, like, you look at a kid who hasn't accumulated so much shit and they're just full of energy and they're like, yeah, it's all possible. I'm going to be a train driver. I'm going to be the president. I'm going to be an astronaut. What a possibility is their language, because they have the absence of a past with all of their trials and tribulations that were not very well accomplished. And they're now like carrying around this heaviness, depression. So present, again, it's recognizing these deeper, subtle contexts and narratives. Again, the same thing happens in acceptance. People in your life, they're not doing what you want, the situation. Okay, we get, again, the cheat word is acceptance. And again, for yourself, it is forgiveness. Because wherever you're at, with your career, with your savings, with the money you've lost on the stock market, with your health, with your weight, with whatever it is, it couldn't be any different. But the degree to which you constantly berate yourself and criticize yourself is the degree to which you are in a loathing, a vicious cycle that is deleterious to your ability to actually create the life that you say you want, right? So the energy is heaviness, regret, shame, guilt, disappointment, depression. But your brain is like, yeah, but try harder. And you listen to all these people say, yeah, it's up to you. You could have any life you want. And to a certain degree, what they're saying is true, but not from where you're at. There's a Groucho Marx movie, and I've forgotten which one it was called. And for whatever reason, I just remember the scene because I tend to pay attention mostly to the work that I do, if that makes sense, meaning words that people use in movies and books that resonate with the way that I teach. And this guy came up to Groucho, he's got his moustache and glasses, whatever, and he says, you know, I'm trying to get to so-and-so, and he says, you can't get there from here. Now, if you just, like, to me, that was just very Groucho-esque, right? Like, it's sort of a little bit of a Zen koan. It's like a mind bender. It's like, you can't get there from here, but you can, right? Because wherever you are, you can move to somewhere where it's maybe more accessible to get to where you want to get to, but you are where you are now. So why I use that line is you can't get there from where you are now, meaning if you're holding on to a history that you haven't yet accepted, integrated, or forgiven yourself for, then I don't care how many affirmations you do in the mirror in the morning or how many seminars you go to about manifesting, you're literally like looking over your shoulder all the time, not towards a future that you're consciously creating and that you want to be responsible for. So have I emphasized enough that you've got to let go of shit? And by letting go, which again is sometimes a misnomer, you know, you can't let go of the fact that you were mocked when you were 15 or 8 or 7 and now you're 43, because it's already like you can't let go of something that transpired like 20, 30 years ago. All you can do is integrate the memory of it, and more importantly, the associated emotion of shame or embarrassment that is an aspect of your identity now that you're using as evidence as to why you can't have the life of your dreams or nobody loves you. Do you see? It's so insidious, but we use our history. And this, by the way, what I'm about to say is such a powerful understanding. The reason the ego, not you, the identity that you think you are, holds on to your history in the way that I'm inviting you not to, is because it validates an aspect of that identity that is based in some language of self-negation. Now, if you don't get what I just said, please rewind those last 45 seconds when you get to watch the recording, because that is the reason, that is the evidence. When somebody says, oh, I know this was too good to be true, or this won't work out, what are they saying? They're reinforcing a version of themselves that is not who they are. It's a facade. It's an aberration based on the times and things that you've done over history that now give you evidence as to why you're not loved, you're not good enough, you're not wanted, you're worthless. So you're holding on to your history. This is so slippery. And at one level, as I said, it's very insidious and it's so harming. But the reason, the validation for your identity and who you think you are today is the history that you have. Because if you don't have that history to hold on to, then who you think you are is gone, because there's no longer any correlation to your own persona, because you don't have the evidence as to why you're just like disgruntled about the workplace and you're completely like compromised as it relates to relationships because you've had all of these heartbreaks. As I tell people, know you, no problem, but more profoundly, know history, know you, no problem. Right? So then you're just pure possibility. This is why kids are so full of life, because they don't have all the disappointments yet that are accumulated in front of their face. So for you to recognize the only reason that you might struggle to let go of your history is not because you can't let go of your history because it's done, but you can't let go of the idea of yourself that that history validates. And if you, I hope this is profound because as I say these things, I'm like, that's just like, that's it. Like, if you just get that, then you're free, right? Okay, there's work to be done, but at least you've got the equation. It's like, okay, here's the best recipe for pancakes, right? Like, okay, you might fuck up a few, but you've got the recipe. Like, you're gonna make the pancakes. You've got the, but if you don't have the recipe, good luck with the pancakes, right? So likewise, in this case, pancakes represents freedom. How I got onto pancakes. We've got to do another Pedro's Kitchen episode on Instagram. But anyway, pancakes, freedom, basically one of the, if you didn't know that pancakes and freedom are synonymous, then I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. What school did you go to? Well, not school, like seriously. So basically, your history is evidence for the persona that you are, and the persona you think you are, it's not who you are, it's who you think you are, is the precursor to thoughts, feelings, and actions you have that create the life that you say you don't want. And then you're trying to manifest another life while you keep dragging your history, which is just evidence to the fact that you think you're a loser, you're inadequate, you're not good enough, you're insecure. And then you're trying on top of that pancake to create something that is really an extraordinary life. Then you wonder why people freaking drink so much. Talk to your doctor. Get another pill. Are you still there? Did I lose you? Okay, so anyway, are we having fun here? Again, it's me and my computer. This is what I do every morning in the mirror, by the way. No. Okay, so past and future. So know you, no problem, right? Do you understand that? One of my shorter but equally more profound quotes, because when you really get it, it's like, oh, there's just beingness, there's just possibility, there's just consciousness, there's just awareness, there's the potential of your intellect as a being, as a timeless, boundless being. But if you've got the persona of like, oh yes, I got dumped, I'm not loved, I got a B, I'm not good enough, I got fired, I'm not valued, right? Like, then you've got this like shitty facade, this mask. And then on top of the, I'm not good enough, I'm not loved, I'm not worthy, no, but I'm going to this workshop where I'm going to create the life of my dreams. How about you get rid of the life of your nightmares first? Just an invitation. I can't emphasize this enough. Like, listen, okay, this is better because it's got a bunch of your questions on it. I was going to say shit, but they're not. They're great questions. So here, like if I give this to you, you can see that. Exhibit A, stuff. Could you see stuff? And you're an artist. You're a really good artist. I'm like, here you go. Create a masterpiece for me. What are you going to say? I can't hear you because I can't hear you. You're going to say, I can't, like this stuff. Like what? You need this side. See? Possibility, new moment. Know you. Know you is pure possibility. But you can't get to possibility until you eat my pancakes. And my pancakes, see now it gets a little complicated because when you eat your pancakes, you got to digest. You're incomplete, right? And some people, you eat too quickly, you have way too much maple syrup, you mix dairy with fruit, and then in Ayurveda, which I'll get into in the Health Mastermind, you're going to have bloating, right? And so now you got to wait for that before you get my point. So anyway, so clear people, can you clear? Can you get rid of all the shit in your house? If you're still in the toilet, by the way, then you've got a problem. You're constipated. That's you need to complete that. Okay, I think I'm diverting a little bit off topic, but not really. Okay, so present. So the life, this is something I wrote down specifically for you. It's kind of a new cronyism, which is the affectionate name given to my quotes. The life you want is on the other side of the things that you don't want. You get that? And the things you don't want are the things you haven't accepted. So if the life you want is on the other side of the things you don't want, which are the things you haven't accepted, so therefore the life you want is on the other side of the things you haven't accepted, then to get to the life that you want, you have to accept the things you don't want. I think we should put that together in an Instagram reel. What do you think? Anyway, so clean. I can't emphasize. That's freedom, right? That's the one word, the big word we start with. Freedom. If you don't have freedom, why do I always talk about freedom? Free your mind, free your health, freedom from depression, free your future. Are you getting the theme yet? Hello? Okay. freedom. So when you have freedom, what happens? You create space. We went from exhibit A to boom, exhibit B. Freedom, space. So if you want practical takeaways, and so many people want, oh, what's the tip? What should I do? What should you do? Clean out your closet. Get rid of all the shit in the drawers. Empty the garage that is like full of boxes that you're never going to use, shit that's filled in, while you have a $50,000 car that sits out in the driveway and gets covered in bird shit and snow, right? Empty shit out. Create space. Oh, like move into your home again. I literally went through this. You might have noticed my background. You're welcome. Nice. See, I told you it was great interior design. I am literally in my master bedroom right now. Why? Because I come from the place of creation and possibility, and I realized, oh, my master bedroom has the best views in my house. But what I was doing is I was walking into that room when it was dark, you know, it's called going to bed, and then I would shut my eyes, that's called sleep, and because I'm an early riser, I was getting up while it was still dark and then walking out of the room. Do you see the potential issue there, not capitalizing on opportunity? So I decided to clean my master bedroom out, and now I have an office and I'm looking at mountains and ocean, well, lake, water, and it's beautiful. And that's called possibility. I'm literally a new person with a new office, even though you think I'm Peter Cronin and I don't. No, I'm a new person. You've never met me before. Hello, nice to meet you. How are you doing? Can I interest you in some of my pancakes? Now I'm going to have to make pancakes. So clean, freedom. Right. With freedom, hang on. You get space. With space, you can write down the next pivotal word for the takeaway from today's Free Your Future, which is creation. With space, you get to create. Now, most of you, don't take this personally, but take it personally. You don't create at all. You react. You react to the things you don't want. The things that you're trying to manifest, for example, a better body, more money, a better relationship. Just take three that tend to be pretty prevalent in the human manifestation conversation, are usually a reaction to what you don't want. A shitty body, not enough money, and or a crappy relationship, right? So again, clean. Get rid. Hey, by the way, you over there, the person I'm talking to, what's possible today? I can't hear you. Did you just say everything? Oh my gosh, you're getting it, right? New possibility, but not if there's stuff in the way. Did I mention to clean? Not just here, but here. Okay, that creates space. Now we're into time and space, right? We're talking about these are the mediums that we live in. We've got no choice. You are stuck in time and space. I'm doing the best I can to get beyond them. I'm pretty close. I'll let you know. Well, I won't, because I won't be in time and space. That's where you're stuck. But if you don't see me around, I got beyond time and space. And I'm eating pancakes in another realm. Okay, so future is now potentially, hopefully for most of you, looking a little bit brighter. Why? Because there's nothing there. There's literally nothing there. It is a blank canvas where now you get to, quote unquote, be a creative being, not a reactive being. Most of you are reactive, but we can change that, right? We can see, oh, if I'm literally looking forward to a future that is yet to be written, why? Because it's unknown. Life, its nature is uncertainty. Peter Crone told me, and he wouldn't lie to me. I don't lie. Sometimes, not today. I used to, because I was coming from fear. Lies, by the way, are behavioral adaptation to fear. If you really get that, that's very powerful. So anyway, now we get into the future. So based on the stuff that you didn't like and that you got hurt by and you're disappointed by and the regret and the shame and all the, you know, the yada, 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 and the boyfriend who did this and the girlfriend, yada, and mom and dad and all that stuff, right? Great, unavoidable, happened, good. The brain doing its job, not a bad brain, not a naughty brain, but it is trying to mitigate the repetition of those. That's called reaction. So then the future is usually energetically, I want you to feel past energy is holding. You're holding on to shit, dragging stuff around. No, I'm good. I did these spring training talks for teams in baseball, and they literally have these huge, you know, they're dustbins, that what we would call a dustbin. Not just a fancy little trash can you put your foot on and it flips up. No, this is a big freaking can. And I would tie it to the back of my belt and I just walk around in front of the guys, go, no, I'm good. Like, yeah, the strikeout, don't worry about it. We lost, don't worry about it. And I'm literally walking, dragging the bin. And, you know, for 20-something-year-olds who are making millions of dollars, and, you know, that was funny, and they got the point, right? So history, yeah, happened. Holding, that's the energy I want you to remember. What are you holding on to? And in case you didn't gather yet, stop that. Future, based on a brain that's trying to predict and protect, tends to be the energy of you're trying to avoid something, right? So holding over here, although the way you're looking at me, that might look to the right. Anyway, you get the point. Past, holding, future, avoiding. So in your section 3, you can write down, you know, what all the events that you foresee that you don't want to happen, right? That's anxiousness, that's fear, that's intrepidation, that's tension, that's concern, worry, the gamut of that continuum that I talked about. So in that, I want you, instead for your cheat word to help you with your tests, right? Like now that we've got the internet, you can go online and get all the answers. Peter Crone's the answer to the For Your Future test. Instead of putting acceptance, which is appropriate, you could say I accept, but acceptance is more present or past. This is I don't know. I don't know. 3 simple words. I don't know. So all the things that you foresee that you don't want are literally projections of your own imagination. Right? Again, one of my more tongue-in-cheek quotes, I say, you can't help but laugh when you realize the only thing upsetting you is your own imagination. And when you get that, you realize what a freaking lunatic you are. And I love you for it. But, you know, let's get into the lunacy of like loving life and being free and creating, God forbid, a world where we actually all get along and there is a corruption and people being murdered or whatever is going on in the world. Which apparently isn't that good right now. But anyway, so as it relates to the future, the things you don't want, I don't know, right? And then regarding the same thing with the future, the things that you feel helpless about, okay, there's a certain degree of I don't know, but there's also things that are literally out of our control, like things that we just don't have a say in. We want to be responsible for our own existence, live in our own world, and create hopefully a world of joy, freedom, harmony, love, and pure aliveness, right? So as long as you're holding on to something and you're avoiding something else, then that energy, which I'm asserting is your inherent nature, meaning it's there. Joy, like you don't have to teach your 3-year-old, okay, Sarah, today we're going to talk about joy. I would like to see you express a little bit more energy when you run around the park. You're a little bit lethargic, you seem apathetic. Like, no, a kid is full of joy. Like, if anything, a parent is like, I wish you didn't have so much freaking joy and excitement for life because I'm exhausted trying to keep up with you, because I'm carrying my baggage and I'm trying to avoid a future, which is like my own imagination. And now I'm having to have a cigarette, whatever. Myriad of different ways of escaping, right? So the point is inherent aliveness is there. It's just, what is in the way? How much stuff have you accumulated that is dampening your light, right? We can get poetic. You know, I often use this analogy. When I first started my work, I said, everybody's a bright light. It's just how many lampshades are you wearing, right? So the light is the same. The light source, the ability, the potential, aliveness, vitality, radiance of a being is there. The question is, how heavy, how thick, how dense, how many shackles do you have in the way of that? And again, the real shackles, and this is where we can't get into it because I'm just talking to my computer, but at the deep context that I, go through in the masterminds or when I'm working with one-on-one, this to really remove the deep stuff that's around the light bulb. But for the most part, you could clean your closet, right? Like you could start there and feel, oh, I feel better. It's like suddenly you're talking nicely to the husband or whatever it is. There's a change. Okay, so future avoiding. So now, if you put the cheat words, I don't know what's going to happen. If you really don't know and you're okay not knowing, then there's nothing you're avoiding anymore, right? You start to see the insanity of what it means to be human when you don't understand these principles that I teach. I'm not saying this is the only way to enlightenment, but it's pretty damn solid and we get great results. But most people are walking around, they're completely oblivious to these distinctions and this formulaic understanding of how the brain works and why they're in a state of misery. And then they seek any form of escape, whether it be through medication, alcohol, weed, or sex, or food, or tea, whatever it is, right? They don't know. I hope you get the gift that this is, not because it's from me, like, forget about me, just absorb the gift for yourself and go, holy shit, I'm a human being who's been walking around holding to stuff, resisting stuff and avoiding stuff, and then wondering why I'm exhausted, right? So when you start to recognize, oh, this is actually an opportunity to truly access the potential that it is to be a human being, now you go from a state of reactivity to creativity. You literally get to make it up. Why? Because you're making it up. As I was about to say, you start to see the lunacy, the craziness of a human being is you've got one brain. Now really track here. Your one brain, which has got its hurts and disappointment. We covered that, right? Yeah, whatever. You got kicked in the balls by like whatever, a girl, and you were laughed at. Whatever you went through, it was a humiliating experience. I got it. I knocked down a wall when I was 15 trying to drive my dad's car. I've told you the story. I certainly got broken up with by girls and, you know, whatever. But that brain that has got hurt is now projecting, making up, imagined a future where you're trying to avoid that, right? You following? Your brain, hello, you, the one there with the skull and the sort of gray matter stuff, right? Your brain is creating a future that you don't want to happen, avoid it. Now what happens? Follow along, class. That brain, the made up the future that you're worried about, creates your anxiety, fear, tension, then your sickness, you got like diarrhea and you can't sleep, all the shit that goes with it, no pun intended. That same brain is now trying to figure out how to avoid the shit that the brain made up in the first place. Like, I'm laughing with you because I did the same thing for years and I wondered why I was exhausted. Do you understand? Brain makes up a problem. Same brain that made up a problem, a projection, pure imagination, is now trying to figure out, oh, how do I avoid that problem that the brain made up? Okay, if you're not laughing either with me, I hope you're laughing at me. I hope you're just laughing because that is asinine, right? And now that's what we humans do. So when you start to realize, oh, okay, thank you, brain, I appreciate it, but you actually are creating the very dis-ease that I'm trying to, really hard to escape, then I'm just gonna kind of put you on the back burner for a little bit. I want to allow the timelessness of the soul that I am, the being that I am, that is pure possibility, pure freedom, to actually run the show, which is called pure creativity versus reactivity to the fictitious future that is worst case scenario that now you're causing me to try and avoid, which is actually getting me nowhere. And then you wonder why most people are on this linear progression without much, if any, improvement, right? Okay, great. That was a lot. Did you get that? Okay, brain, great. We need it. Awesome. But let's use it from a position of creativity. As they say, the mind is a lousy master, but a great servant. So if we can start to churn what I'm telling you into a formulaic way for you to live your life and go, I'm not going to hold on to my history. There's no future that I'm avoiding. Why? Because I'm going to just deal with it because I don't know what's going to happen. But whatever happens, either I'll deal with it or I'll find someone who can deal with it because I can't always deal with it. That's okay. But I have the facilities and the resources to help me deal with something that I can't deal with. That's called handling life, right? There's nothing to worry about there. There's a lot of things that I sometimes could do, but I don't want to, and I hire someone. There's a ton of things I couldn't do, and for that reason, I get someone else to do it, right? Versus sitting there and just worry about it. Okay, that's a lot of information. I know some of you are saying, slow down, please slow down. This is called giving you value for your buck. There's one thing that I know, I can categorically say with confidence, I don't disappoint in terms of how much information I give you. Your ability to assimilate it, that's on you, not me, okay? But I'm definitely going to download plenty. Okay, so now we're starting to see this transition, this transcendence, this transformation from a human being who's carrying baggage, who's reacting to an illusory future that hasn't happened yet, trying to figure it out to avoid it, and then wondering why they're in a state of disease, versus, oh, my history is my history, yeah. Hello, we've all got one. I'm okay with it. Yeah, if some things were embarrassing, whatever, you know. My future, clueless, don't know. But not knowing is what gives me my ability to now, from this place of non-reactivity, to literally make it up. Hence that second word, creation. So how do you create stuff? Well, you say shit or you write it down. Now, this is where it gets into that slippery slope, and we're starting to play with manifestation, right? Do you see how the manifestation conversation is like, this is a terrible, no, it's not terrible. It's a bit of a gross example, but I'm going to share it anyway, because why not? I'm free and the future is unwritten and I'm just sitting in front of my computer. No one's going to punch me in the face, I hope. So anyway, I was playing golf with some friends. And for those of you who don't know golf, let's just say it was a par 4, meaning ideally you would maybe make a 3. That's called a birdie. That's better than 4. So the lower in this case is better. Like I know in an infomercial, more is better. Like, wait, there's more. In this is less is better. So if it's a par 4 and you get a 3, that's called a birdie. Awesome. So I was playing golf with a friend, a few friends, and he was making a putt on the green, and it was a long putt, 30 feet, something that you likely won't make. You know, if it's a 3-inch putt, sure, you're going to make that. 30 foot, highly unlikely. Hopefully you can make it in 2. But he was already lying 6, right? And ideally you want to make a 3, worst case scenario, a par at 4. So he was putting for a 7, not great, but he made the putt. It was 30 foot. I mean, whoa, unexpected. Probably like percentage wise, 1%. And one of my friends said, "Oh, great putt." You know, nice acknowledgement for a friend for an accomplishment. And his response was, "Yeah, whipped cream on shit." Right? Good putt, whipped cream. He's already played 7 shot, whatever. You get the point. So manifestation, whipped cream sounds way like it's so tempting and tantalizing. I'm going to manifest this beautiful sculpted partner and manifest millions of dollars. And I'm going to manifest a beach house, a mansion, and a jet. But you're walking around with all the sticky tapes of, I'm a loser, no one likes me. It's like, yeah, whipped cream on shit. Do you see? So now we're starting to get into, no, you're not shit. Yeah, your history's not bad. There's nothing wrong with you. You're pure possibility. You're a timeless, boundless being. Now, when you tap into that energy, now we can start to talk about manifestation. Otherwise, it's not manifestation. It's really manipulation. Oh, I like that. See, we're going from manipulation to manifestation. You could quote me. Okay, so manifestation is we first have to have exhibit B, if you remember. You might not remember because there was nothing there. Do you get it? See, that's pure possibility. Manifestation can only happen when, first of all, what? You have freedom. Freedom only happens when you eat Pedro's pancakes, which is you accept your history. You're not in resistance to what is. Life is the way it is, but only as it is always, right? And then it's like, okay, what am I going to create? How do I create? Great question, person in the back there that I can't see through my computer camera. The question is, how do I create? Well, you create by declaration. I'm going to get in great shape. How many people said that this year, a few days ago, maybe still saying it, maybe even forked out 50, 100, 200 bucks a month to join a gym? And that's what they were creating. I'm going to get in great shape. But they are up against the pile of poop that got the whipped cream on it, right? And they wonder why February 5th, they're like, you know what? I think I'm going to put my membership on hold. The kids are like rolling the eyes, the mother, the wife, you get the point. So manifestation can only happen if there's nothing there. And this is why I said clean, clean, clean. You've got to get shit complete. Get stuff complete. I can't emphasize it enough. I wish I got more stuff complete. I'm getting better. But the more I get complete, the more prolific I am in the way that I create. And I'm pretty prolific as it is. Okay, so declaration, saying something, writing something, saying something. That is creation. I'm literally creating. Abracadabra. If you don't know the Hebrew translation of it, it means as I speak, so I create. How cool is that? That's why it's abracadabra, because it's freaking magic. You are a magician. You're a walking magician. Each of you is a walking magician. Most of you walking magicians constipated with emotional indigestion, and you've got a bunch of shit dragging around on your fancy magician cloak. But once you get rid of all of that, you're a magician. As I speak, so I create. Okay, so that's creation. Now we get to the really hard, the stuff I've been talking about is pretty hard, let's face it. But the really hard part, if that was hard, accepting and acknowledging your history and that you did the best you could within the level of awareness that you had, and that the way things are right now couldn't be any different because they're not, that's tough. That takes a big being to accept. But moving forward, creating And then the hard part, the next word you have to write, folks, discipline. And this is where some of you just ended the Zoom meeting. You're like, fuck it. I thought he was going to give me the answers. I don't want to do discipline. Screw that. I thought I could sit on my couch, ideally in a lotus position, omming my life away, and someone would walk into my house with a suitcase of $1 million. No. Yeah, another expression for you. You don't get what you want by just wanting it. Life responds to action, folks, not your opinion. Okay? So you got freedom because you cleaned all out this shit. And then you got creativity because you got space to work with. And then discipline and time is what allows whatever you want to manifest to show up. Are you following? Because this is powerful, formulaic, fundamental, transcendent type stuff, even though my description of it maybe not so articulate. I'm talking a lot, and hence my voice. Do you see? This is creation. I'm creating dryness in my throat. Oh my gosh, it's already 2:10. Okay, how are we doing there, folks? Is everybody completely overloaded? I hope so, but with goodness, right? So freedom, creation, blah, 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 abracadabra. I'm a fucking magician. Excuse my French. I am a magician. I'm a freaking magician. I'm a wonderful magician. I'm an articulate British magician. And I get to say what I want to create. But guess what happens? Then you have to do something, right? Be, do, have. You've heard that before. You want to have $1 million. You want to have a beautiful body. You want to have a great relationship. You want to have a big home in the Seychelles. Great. How'd you have it? Was because of what you did before. Action. And your actions are a byproduct of who you be. And if you be lethargic, apathetic, resigned, cynical, frustrated, depressed, anxious, fearful, resentful, and embarrassed of your history, you're likely going to be in the Seychelles, but you're the guy walking around picking up litter from the beach and you live in a shack. Still manifestation. Do you see it works? Manifestation you could exchange for the word physics. That's all it is. It's not some freaking highfalutin thing. Oh, you're a great manifester. No, I'm a human who has thoughts and feelings. I take actions in correspondence to the thoughts and feelings I have, which really are a byproduct of the deeper subcontext narratives that most people are oblivious to. And because of the actions I take based on the thoughts and feelings, because of the cages I live in from my triggered history of my childhood, I now have the results. Oh, you're a manifester. Yes, so are you. But if you want to manifest consciously, you need exhibit A, and you need to get to exhibit A, which means you've got to do your due diligence with your history. And then folks, you got to get out of bed and you got to work out and you got to eat good food and you got to do the things you say you do, even if you don't want to. See, this is the trouble. Most human beings are much more interested in how they feel. You going to go to the gym today? No, don't feel like it. Oh, okay, great. What happened to that New Year's resolution? I'm going to get in great shape. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's tomorrow. Oh, is there? Do you know that? Do you know there's tomorrow? Do you really know that? Do you see? You don't. And we all think that there's tomorrow. But if you knew the urgency that your life is, what is the expression? There's two lives. You all have two lives. And your second life starts when you realize that you only have one. You really get that? That to me, that puts a fire under your ass, as far as I'm concerned. Now, again, I've had my quote unquote history. My dad goes to work one day, never comes back. That's a pivot. You know, that's a pinnacle time in a human being's life for me to go, you know what? Maybe there isn't tomorrow. Maybe I should take a minute to just listen to what that person's saying. Maybe I could be a little bit more generous or loving or kind or present with the people that I'm in versus taking them for granted, which I don't, because from 17, I realized the fragility of life, and especially as it relates to the people that are valuable in our life. You know, and it's cliche and we can all say it, but who does it? Who's going to squeeze their child a little longer tonight with a little bit more love? Maybe you're not going to discipline them for something that a kid's going to do because they're 5. And you're like, you know what? Is it really worth it? Or do I want to be a more loving being? Do I want to be a more present being? Do I want to be a more generous being with the way that I show up and I listen to people, right? That, when you understand that, then all of a sudden time really becomes the most precious asset that any of us have. And yeah, I get it. Do you think Peter Crone, you see my videos and my workouts, and I'm lying in a freaking cold plunge, it's 40 degrees, it's probably less because in my temperature outside is 29. Like, oh yeah, I can't wait to do that. Like, see, I get up in the morning, right? So I was like, okay, Peter, over here we have option A, which is called discipline based on what you're choosing to create in your life. And it's called, let's work out. You're a little sore, you're a little stiff, you're tired. And then we're going to get into a cold plunge at 37 degrees. Or we've got option B over here, which is called stay in bed, you know, drool a little bit, and then get up and eat a bunch of pancakes. Depends. If they're my pancakes, then option B is probably pretty good. Right? Do you understand? So I get it. I live the life. I'm human. I'm human, believe it or not. Some people are still questioning. I think you could Google, is Peter Crone really human? It was my age before. Then I think it was my marital status. People wanted to know if I'm in a relationship. Now I think they're starting to think I'm really an enigma. I'm not actually of this world. And I'm not. I'm in it, but not. Anyway. So the point is, if you want to get to this level of vitality and joy, and many of you have seen the life I lead, and I'm not talking about trappings, but there's a certain joie de vivre that I think that I assert that people can see in me. I have a certain intellect. I have a certain ability to impact people's lives. I make a difference. I have a good living. I have an amazing team that I take care of who help me. And we create things like this so that hundreds, maybe thousands of people can see to make a difference. That doesn't happen if I go by how I feel. You know what, Meg, who kind of runs things for me. Yeah, that whole free your future thing. I don't feel like it today. Could we put that off? Like, you know, I don't know. I'm gonna watch TV, maybe some Netflix that I don't have because it's part of my commitment. Anyway, do you see? So creation, and then we get to the word that most of you are going to resist, which is discipline. Discipline. Any kind of motivational YouTube video, Instagram, like reel, whatever, like any of those that are in that realm of inspiration, it's all about, yeah, you got to do this. And it's always this guy with a deep voice who's like, oh, yeah. Like, you know, whatever it is, like, it's always about, you got to get on with it. Now, the reason I didn't get to this point at the beginning, because they're all starting there, aren't they? They're all like, yeah, it's up to you. But you're already carrying so much weight. You're exhausted. You're already carrying so much guilt that you feel worthless. You're already carrying so much shame and hurt that you have zero vitality. So people can scream in your face and you can use a little bit of willpower for a minute, but you're going to fade. So this is why clean, you will find vitality. Vitality will come to the surface. Cleaning is removing the lampshade so that the light that you are has the ability to shine and make a pathway for you to see what is now the next clear step, and equally be a source of inspiration for other people to see the light within themselves, which then through the magic of feedback gives you value. Where do I get, like, I'm sitting in my master bedroom, which is now my office, because I told you about that whole transition, by myself. Where the hell am I getting all of this energy to speak at God knows how many words a minute, somewhat articulately, maybe a couple of blunders here and there, but for the most part, I'm pretty good at what I'm saying, and it makes sense. And many of you are going to have to rewind because you realize it's actually profound. Like, where the hell does that come from? Right? It's because I'm alive. I see the ability to make a difference to you, somebody who's taking time out of the day. You took money out of your wallet, thank you very much, to contribute to the service that you see that I am and the difference that I'm going to make in your life. But that is only by virtue of the fact that I see the opportunity to make a difference. But I can only do that if I made a difference in my life first, right? The old cliche of, if you're going to have love with others, you've got to have love with self. I have a quote on my Instagram that says, until you love and respect yourself, what makes you think other people will? Right? So it starts with you in that regard. And then we get to the discipline, which is over time, consistently sticking to what you say, not as a reaction to what you don't want. That's where, again, manifestation tends to fall apart because people are reacting to what they don't want. So the resonance and the energy and the frequency that's driving their behavior is based in lack and scarcity and judgment, right? That's not going to work either. So get clear on this last page. See, we're making progress. Page 4. Section 4, your now future. And why I said now future is because I want you to embody the energy of who you would be. And there's 3 parts in section 5 underneath about how you would feel if that was the future you were getting, who you would be, meaning the energy that you would exude, and then the actions that you would take, because life responds to actions. It doesn't respond to you sitting in your old beat up t-shirt, some pajamas bottoms that you probably should have washed a couple of weeks ago, and you're just sitting there trying to manifest something in your head. That doesn't work. Okay, how are we doing? Is it time for questions? I think I covered it. Yeah, so manifestation, and the way that most people relate to it is, in time and space, this is why it doesn't work. Manifestation that people talk about is it's not here and it's not now, right? Think about it. You're trying to manifest something. What are you trying to manifest? Well, it's not here and it's not now. It's in the future and it's over there somewhere. That's never going to work. It just isn't going to work. Okay. I think I can get to some of your questions. Only got 10 minutes, but I think that's it, kids. Checking my notes because, you know, that was my declaration and my discipline. So one point with manifestation, the not now and not here is profound if you really understand that, because what you're saying is I don't have it and it's not with me. And so that actually is the energy of scarcity, which speaks to the antithesis of who I assert you are, which is everything. If you are whole, if you are everything that you're looking for as an experience and as a potentiality, it's all there, then looking through the lens of it's not here and I don't have it and it's not now, then you're actually in conflict with your own divine nature. That makes sense? So it's like a Christmas present, you know, that's wrapped and someone's saying, well, I don't have my present. Well, it looks like it, but it's just wrapped. That's kind of the point. It's the joy of like revealing. So, right, manifestation is not about trying to get somewhere or get something. It's about revealing the essence of the vibration and the quality of frequency that you think you would adopt if you had what you're trying to manifest. I hope you get what I'm saying. I'm dropping some serious gems here, he says humbly. Right? So you're not trying to get something, you're trying to reveal an aspect of you that you haven't put online yet. And you're under the impression that that aspect, that component of you, which is divine, it's complete, it's amazing, is only going to be available to you when the circumstances of what you're trying to manifest actually show up. And then you perpetuate this game of procrastination versus going, no, I am the essence of what I'm looking for that I'm currently under the illusion is only going to be found when the circumstances of my life change. But if you embody the essence of who you think you would be if that person were to show up in your life, then that energy is the creative source that allows, with discipline, for that to show up over time. I mean, how much do we charge for this course? We're not just getting such a bargain. People go to freaking college for 4 years and pay $200,000 and they don't get that shit. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, so question time. Let's start with, because there's some good ones here and there's a lot. Gohar, what do you do if your loved ones are the ones who bring you down, steal your wings when you're ready to fly? My mother is an amazing person who I adore. However, she has been through a lot from a very young age and is in a constant reactive mode. Okay, so now if I could interact with you, which I can't, so therefore that's moot, I would ask people to say, what was the lie about the question? And now my masterminders are all like, me, pick me, pick me. I know the answer because I've done the mastermind. I know, but I'm not going to pick on you. So what do if your loved ones are the ones who bring you down? There's the hint. They're not bringing you down. So when you look through the lens of thinking that you're being brought down, in this case by your mother, who is an archetype, a role model, she's obviously part of your quote unquote biology and a huge influence in your life, it seems even more likely that those type of people that are in our lives, our spouses, our families, our kids, our co-workers, they're the ones that upset you. No, they're just doing something which is revelatory. It's a means by which you get to see the part of you that you haven't yet accessed, which is the potential to be with any circumstance. Meaning that your mother is not bringing you down. She is, through her words or actions, whatever it is that she's doing, is revealing where you think you're incapable of dealing with somebody else's malaise or her reactivity mode because of whatever she's been through that you said from a very young age. What's that got to do with you? Okay, so no one's bringing you down but you. As I said, one brain imagines an illusory future of a worst case scenario. The same brain is then trying to figure it out, and you wonder why you're exhausted and apathetic about moving forward. Same here. You're not being brought down by anyone. Someone is doing something, saying something. The way your brain is interpreting it as a perceived threat. You don't want it that way. And then you're in resistance to life, which is creating the fatigue. And now the question, which is appropriate, and thank you, Gohar, for asking the question, but your mother isn't doing anything to you, and she's certainly not bringing you down. Unless, of course, you were standing on a ladder and she's soaring the legs, in which case I understand and I apologize. I misunderstood your question. She's bringing you down. You can always count on Pedro from a little bit of silly humor. Okay, my girlfriend, Troy. Troy, what's up? Hopefully most of these questions have been answered by virtue of the fact that I just downloaded a whole bunch of profound, like life-altering content. But in case it hasn't, I'll go through some of the questions. My girlfriend recently broke up with me, and this shattered my current reality. You start to see the lies, people. Do you live in a greenhouse, Troy? Okay. She was throwing bricks when she walked out, and it I got it. Shattered my current reality. Again, I'm playing with you because you're powerful. I have compassion. I'm sorry. I went through a lot of breakups when I was in it. I know it feels like shit. Anyway, it was terrible and beautiful, and is still a little terrible. Going through it has led me to question, can only the ego be hurt? I had a moment where I was repeatedly saying, you broke me, until I realized that she didn't break me. Awesome work, Troy. Gold star. No, actually, piece of Scotch tape. Removed. Until I realized that she didn't break me, this situation broke who I thought I was. Whoa, now we're getting profound. Troy, I don't think, were you in my mastermind? I don't know, don't recognize you. I would really love some help with this so I appropriately deal with it. Well, amazing, I acknowledge you for your awareness. Nothing can break you. Everybody, nothing breaks you, nothing breaks you. Did I mention nothing can break you, the real you? Yeah, you can break your humerus, you can break your femur, you could break. When someone says it broke my heart, like, no, that didn't happen. You felt a lot of things. What got broken, yes, is the ego, the identity. So the part of you, this is the irony, Troy, and really, I mean, obviously you've done a lot of work. I don't know if it's because you've done my courses or you've, whatever, just smart cat, you've been around the block and you've listened to a few inspirational teachers out there. The opportunity with this particular girlfriend situation is, think about a chicken, right? Having an egg. That's the chicken, the egg. Which came first? I don't know. Still haven't got to that. When something is broken from the inside, it creates new possibility, right? When the chick breaks out of the shell, it's for a new realm. It's literally coming out of a contained space into quote unquote life. When something is broken on the outside, sometimes, not always, that can be a quote unquote end of life. And the way that the ego interprets this outside break, she did it. No, she didn't. Your soul curated it. So actually, when you understand the ramifications of life, even the events that we seem in resistance to or we don't want, actually at a deeper level, your soul is curating them ahead of your own consciousness so that you can evolve spiritually, which is what you're here for. So actually it looks like, yeah, my girlfriend broke from the outside, that's why you're devastated. No, some part of you recognize that relationship didn't serve you. And so you broke from the inside, which was the energy, the frequency that curated the events of her leaving and throwing the bricks through the glass house that you live in or whatever it is. And so you're actually now evolving. So the breaking is of the idea of yourself who was in the relationship that you were with, this girl, that is actually insufficient for the person you want to be in this life. So if you rephrase it that way, it's super powerful that you didn't lose anything. In fact, if we were to use the word loss in a really accurate way, what you're losing is not a girlfriend, it's losing the iteration of you that you were with that relationship that is actually deleterious and detrimental to the person you're aspiring to become. Now, again, I don't know, folks, sometimes this shit comes through me. I don't know where the hell it comes from. But if you really got what I just said, you're all basically currently fighting an iteration of yourself that isn't the precursor to the life that you want to manifest. Meaning that if you want an extraordinary life, and fill in the blank, it's your body, it's your bank account, it's your home, it's your career, it's the island you're going to buy, whatever it is that you want, the version of you that wants it is the obstacle to that. Right? So you literally have to die in order for the version of you to be born who is the precursor, who knows how to and takes the actions to create the life that you say you want. But the person who's saying they want it right now isn't the version of you that's going to have it. And therein lies such a huge obstacle for most people, because most people don't want to let go of the version of who they are right now. So Troy, you are a living example, a poster child of this point, which is in order for us to evolve, it's not so much the evolution of our circumstances, it's the evolution of ourselves. And in order to evolve, we have to die to the previous iteration of ourselves that was the precursor to the life that now we're letting go of. That's it. I don't know if I could say it better than that. We're done. I'm out. I'm going to go and eat some fucking pancakes. No. Okay. But by the way, if you don't recognize, apart from the profundity of the information that I'm sharing, the sheer entertainment value, then I don't know why you aren't in the mastermind. What the hell is wrong with you? I know many of you are, so I take that back. Can't wait to see you in a week. Okay. Sarah. So Troy, awesome. You get nothing because I can't. I mean, you got your whole life. You got a new version of Troy. You literally got a new human being. If that isn't good enough for you, then boy, you are a tough crowd. Okay, Sarah, I have lost all goals. How do I get goals, dreams back? As we start the year, many people set goals for the year. They do, but now you know they're not very good goals and they're not going to get them. So don't compare to people who are just not going to accomplish anything because they don't know what manifestation is. They're dragging all their shit around. It's not going to happen. So don't worry about that. But after years of not achieving my goals, I find myself with no goals, no dreams. I feel like I've just wandered in life and it's really not comfortable. I get that. Probably more comfortable than making goals and then not achieving them. Touche, I get that. How do I get to desire to set goals, dreams again? Clean, clean, clean. Accomplishment is the byproduct of the feeling of possibility that you can accomplish. So there's something, Sarah, that you are carrying about yourself, your disappointments, your failures, the judgment and criticisms you have of who you are, or the narrative of woe that, oh, things don't happen for me, and my sister, look, she's married and she's having her first baby, or my best friend just made a lot of money, or the way that you're using other circumstances as evidence to reinforce your own identity that who you are is somebody that doesn't deserve an extraordinary life. That's a crock of shit. That's a story. That's an incompletion of the way that you're viewing yourself that is a complete lie to the divine being you are, who's timeless and boundless. So to use the metaphor I used earlier of like someone creates this gourmet meal, but your mouth is full, you're saying, I don't have goals and aspirations. Well, yeah, because your mouth is full. And maybe literally, I mean, you might literally be watching this, although you probably heard your name and then you put down your fork. I'm just saying you don't have an appetite. And when we don't have an appetite, it's because we haven't digested. We haven't processed what have we been through. So for you, my dear, goals and aspirations and dreams are there. They're there. You can't not have them. What you have in the way is something that you've yet to process. Maybe you've been through some tough times. Maybe you did go through a breakup and you haven't processed it. Maybe someone that you loved has left you or died. Maybe you got fired. These are all things to have compassion for with yourself, but you can't wallow there too long, because then you're feeling this sense of hopelessness and worthlessness and woe is me, which is not the precursor to being creative or in any way motivated towards your own goals and dreams. So clean, clean, clean. And for you, you may not be able to even access what it is psychologically. Sometimes it's difficult to see, but clean your house, make your bed, get yourself some new towels, like simple things that give a sense of freshness and newness. Okay, so I hope that helps. Barbara or Barbora. Never heard of a Barbora, but anyway, I don't judge. I can envisage big dreams. There you go. Sarah, connect with Barbora. I can envisage big dreams. I did not plan that. That is just literally, that's manifestation in action. I can envisage big dreams for myself for the future. However, I catch myself quite often thinking that I'm not good enough and that those are just not possible for me to reach. I work on this as much as I can, but it keeps on happening still, no matter my conscious efforts. Any advice? Yes, first of all, great. So we could say, Sarah's in the dumps, right? She's got the heaviness, the accumulation. She's got the magician's cloak covered in stuff, and she's heavy. She doesn't even have an appetite. You've got an appetite. I've got envisaged big dreams. Awesome. But you don't have any follow through. You don't have any action. And so the version of you has got some story about your powerlessness, your past failures that warrant you not really going for something. So it's all possible. Your big dreams, I promise you, are not even big enough. I promise you they're not. I work with some of the most successful people in the world. And when they start realizing what I'm telling them, they're like, oh my God, my goals aren't even big enough. And these are people who have big goals. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, when you really understand possibility, the energy of possibility, it's very different than what you think is possible. If we really understand that distinction, it's so powerful. And I'm pretty imaginative, but when I realized that what I think is possible is not what's possible, it was just like a light bulb. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm pretty creative. I'm very creative. And yet my creativity pales in comparison to the energy of possibility itself. Do you see? So first of all, Barbara, your big dreams aren't big enough. Secondly, the real work isn't creating your dreams. The real work is getting beyond the you that thinks you can't get there. Does that make sense? The biggest dream you have right now is simply the temptation to get beyond the constraints of your own current identity. Folks, I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to have a different life, you have to be a different you. But most of you want a different life whilst you stay you. It's like definition of insanity, right? Do the same things over and over and expecting different results. So Barbara, your opportunity is not to create the dreams that you think are big, and I promise you they're not big, they're only big relative to the person you are. Your opportunity is actually to get beyond the person you are, and then you'll notice how small your dreams are. Not bad, not wrong, but just small. Okay, I definitely am gonna need some pancakes. Oh shit, it's already 2:37. That's all right. More coming at you. Okay, Sindhu. Life is uncertain. Well done. You got that part. And we don't know what the future holds. Awesome. Sounds like a graduate. How much say do we have over destiny by changing our minds? Well, the short answer is none. Next question. Changing your minds. Here, I'll give you an example. 3 birds on a telephone wire. One bird decides to fly away. How many birds are left on the telephone wire? Oh, right, I can't hear you. Most of you will say 2. I'm going to guess that. Some of you smart ones who maybe have heard it will say 3. Why 3? Because the bird decided. It didn't fly away, it decided. A decision is not action. Okay, so I really want you to understand that how much say do we have over destiny by changing our minds? Now, if we want to get into vibrational frequency manifestation, which is advanced level, then yes, if you change your mind sufficiently so that it cascades into your physiology and it enters the subtle bodies of who you are, such that you're emanating at a different frequency and vibration, then yes, you are having an impact on the world, hands down. But that's not what most people do. Most people don't understand even what I just said, right? So if you can recognize that just by changing your mind, you know what? Fuck it, I'm not going to go to the dinner tonight. Okay, that made a decision because, you know, like that made a difference because you didn't show up to the dinner. But we started to talk about big things, which is what I assume the question is based in, is the interest in manifesting a more extraordinary life. Then changing your mind might cause you to take a different action, and then the different action will change your life. So yes, is changing your mind part of the equation? Yes, but it's important, but it's insufficient, right? It's necessary, but it's not complete. So change your mind. Okay, now what? Oh, I changed my mind. Okay, are you going to take different action? If you are, because you change your mind, then yes, you're going to change your life. Do you see? Got to have all components. It's the whole smorgasbord. Haven't used that word for a while. Okay, I think I've got time for maybe one or two more. Let me see. What did Andrea? Is there an easy process tool to shift from limiting beliefs to more empowering ones? I've just poured my heart and God knows how many words out in the space of 99 minutes, not red balloons. So I don't know how easy that was, and I don't know how easy it was to process. So I don't think there's an easy, it sounds like you're just lazy. Andrea, you're lazy. Come to my house for pancakes anytime. Yes, I mean, one of the ways to get from limiting beliefs to more empowering ones is by recognizing the illusory nature, the pretense, the fallaciousness of limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are beliefs, and they're limiting in this case. A belief that is more empowering is still a belief. It might not be a truth. So if you really want the easy shift, you got to know truth. But most people don't know truth because they're blinded by their own context, their own subconscious patterns that are the precursor to the thoughts they have that are the conscious level. And what you're thinking about is too late. It's been generated from what you don't know you're thinking about, these subconscious patterns that I help, again, dissolve in the mastermind and when I'm working with people, so that then you can access truth. Truth is, and I've said it to you, but saying it doesn't necessarily make a difference, which is you're divine, you're limitless, you're boundless, you're timeless. Now, if you really embodied that, like if you really felt that, Andrea, then you would not be stopped by a limiting belief. Does Peter Crone still have the ability to see a limiting belief? Oh, I'm not sure that's going to work. Right, I could see that, but does that stop me? No, it's like, because I know it's a limiting belief. I'm not stopped by a belief. I'm driven by what's possible. Totally different existence. Okay, let me see. I think there was one more that I did want to get to, but maybe there wasn't. Okay, yeah, so Katish, how can I discern the life that I really want to create? This is a great question. From the life that I want to create simply to obtain relief from present circumstance? Great question. The latter can feel very convincing. It sure can, and it's what most people do for an entire lifetime. So again, I'm going to repeat. How can I discern the life that I really want to create from the life that I want to create simply to obtain relief from the present circumstances? Listen, hopefully I've addressed it, right? Because most people, as I said, are reacting, not creating. Reacting is, as you said correctly, from present circumstances that you're seeking relief from, meaning it's something you don't want. Like I had an Instagram post that said most things that people want is a reaction to what you don't want. So the way to discern is you have to slow down, as I said earlier, and you have to pay attention. Where is this energy, because it is an energy with biochemical like neurotransmitters and everything associated with it, like dopamine, the energy of drive and motivation and reward, like these are real things in you. Is my desire, is my drive, my action, is it coming from a place of reactivity, something I don't want? And we could even say fear, because usually not wanting has got like some semblance, it's tainted with an energy of fear, resistance. Or is it coming from pure joy, for the pure exploration of my potential and what's possible? Now, if you discern it in the way that I just delineated it, it's really pretty apparent. I always know when I'm doing something because of something that I'm uncomfortable with. Oh, I'll do this because I don't want to upset them. Now, I'm not saying that that wouldn't stop me because maybe I'm doing something out of kindness or what, but it's not really generated from a place of pure potential possibility, joy, and the exploration of my own existence. They're very different resonances, very different frequencies. So that, folks, is a lot. And I'm sure many of you got a headache. But hopefully in the best possible way. I love to over-deliver. I just love that I get to do this. I really am humbled by the number of people that show up. There's a lot on this call. I think we're into 4 numbers, but like there's, you know, it's really, it's flattering that you either are new to my work, but was sufficiently inspired and decided to join, or I know many of you have done both masterminds and you're signed up for my health mastermind, and fuck, I love you, you know, for your commitment, for learning, for this. To me is the only game in town, right? Meaning this is it. This work is why we're here. It's not to get more followers, make more money, get a status in the workplace or fame, or, you know, like, that's great. But you're still going to have to face why you came here, which is to transcend and overcome the limitations that are binding the soul that you are. And this is why I thank you for showing up for yourself. Obviously, for me, I'm flattered. It provides me a lifestyle. My life is truly given by the difference I get to make in your life. So thank you for being there, for giving me the opportunity to do that. And thank you for showing up for the people in your lives who you're going to be different for, who you're going to impact, whether you're a coach, a mother, a parent, a sibling, a child, and you see the opportunity to be a source of inspiration for those around you that you love. Thank you. This is what this world needs. We have way too many people who lie, who steal, who are corrupt, who are abusive, who harm, and seemingly in positions of authority like our administration. So we need people who are willing to do this work, who understand that unity, freedom, love, possibility, kindness, these are really the most valuable assets we have, not printing trillions of dollars and invariably giving it away to different countries. But that's a different topic of conversation. So really, thank you for showing up, for you, for me, for the people in your lives. You get to watch this again by virtue of the fact that you're here. If you are in my Mastermind Health edition, I cannot wait to see you next Friday. We're going on a crazy 3-month journey of powerful, profound insights, coaching one-on-one. I'll get to see your faces. I'll get to see your reactions. We can have conversation. I mean, I'm pretty animated just by myself, as you know, but when I'm with you people, it's an entirely different experience. You get to support yourself in the community as you go. And of course, I'm going to absolutely blow the lid off why most people don't even know what the hell health is. So I can't wait for that. But really, thank you everybody for being here. Happy new moment, happy new you, happy new year, happy new whatever. I want to thank my team. They work so hard behind the scenes in ways that I don't understand to make all of this happen. Meg, Aaron, Matthias, Alyssa. So thank you. You're always welcome to thank them. I know you interact with them personally in your emails. Please do acknowledge them. They're beautiful humans who work their asses off. They are, without doubt, instrumental for me. If you feel I made a difference in your life today, then it could not have happened without them. So they equally deserve some of that acknowledgement. What else? I think that's it. Life is pure possibility. You are a divine being, a timeless, boundless being. And when you don't feel that, it's because you become misidentified with some of these stories that are not you. They are here for you to find that opportunity to accomplish, to conquer, to overcome that sense of fulfillment that really is the arc of a human being's life, to see that we are here as divine beings who have, for whatever period of time we're here, misidentified with constraints and limitations. But the real joy of being alive is to break free of that. So I hope today, many of you, ideally all of you, saw a greater possibility for a freedom in your future, and that you got to free your mind and see greater possibility. I send you so much love. I can't wait to see you again. Even if you're not doing the Mastermind Health, that's fine. I'll catch you down the road. But I'll see you in the Mastermind Health. All right, much love. I think that's it. I don't know. I think it's always awkward to say goodbye when I'm by myself. Bye, Peter. Oh, bye, Peter. Nice to spend time with you. Hopefully you're smiling over there. Your hearts feel full. Your minds feel liberated. Maybe a little bit convoluted for right now because I know I download a lot. And I think that's it. If there's anything else that I missed, we'll email you. And also, by the way, Freedom Community will be coming in sometime, hopefully within this month. I think many of you have signed up. That's going to be awesome. It's super affordable. It'll be a way to stay in touch with each other in an incredibly loving, kind, inspirational, motivational, vulnerable community where we're all committed to breaking free and just being fucking awesome. And don't forget, eat your Pedro pancakes. All right, I'm out. I love you. You're awesome. Please stop pretending that you're not, because that hurts and we don't want to hurt. Ciao.